thank you all again for being here for this last webinar here of the year. Can't believe how fast things have flown by. It's been an amazing year here at Lyft, but at the same time, we want to keep bringing value and keep plans going. So just, I guess, as a starting point, goals for the year. For those that are here, you want to put down if you hit them or you didn't, just as a basic starting point. If you're watching the replay here afterwards, throw it in the comments if you hit your goals or not. So let's see, just kind of, it's a simple yes or no if you hit your goals for the year for the shop in particular. So, all right, we got a few yeses in here, got a couple no's, and that's fine. Perfect. All right, yeah. So sounds like we kind of got a mixed bag of hitting goals or not throughout the year. But again, as throughout this planning portion today, we'll be going over kind of highlights of the current year, how to kind of focus the plan that way for marketing in the new year, and then also we'll be going into like kind of making the goal and what those numbers financially should look like based on where maybe your revenue goal is going to be. All right. So as the agenda, as you can see, again, there are going to be some SEO trends that we're seeing going into the new year. Strong ad campaigns, some ideas of boosting car count as maybe things are a little bit slow. We got local service ads. That's a really big thing that we're really hitting hard on as we go into this new year. We're seeing really strong results for those that have jumped on it with us already. But we'll go into talking about that again. And then we have just kind of AI and how that's kind of revolutionizing marketing. And obviously it's been going on for a good bit, but I mean, there's certain elements now that are getting more and more catered, especially towards search, that we want to hit on. All right. So marketing landscape in 2025. So why adapt to the new trend? So obviously, as a shop owner, we kind of maybe we get stuck in our ways a little bit, and like what's working is working, and that is great. But we also want to know what the latest trends are and how to adapt how the consumers are behaving. Because if not, eventually we might get left in the dust, and we definitely don't want that to happen. So that's going to be the importance of adaptability with every business each and every year, and making sure that you're reaching out to your consumers in the best ways that they want to be reached out to. And kind of the best ways to figure that out is maybe asking them. And I don't know how many people field and talk to their customers as often, but I would make that a big goal as well, just as a simple task of talking to your customers maybe once a week. Increased competition means standing out is critical. And so obviously competition is fierce. This isn't maybe you are in a rural area where there aren't many other shops around, but most of everyone that watches these and are attending these, I mean, they have competition. There's a reason why you're even watching this is because you want to make goals, you want to beat your competitors. And so making sure that you know how to stand out is going to be crucial. And then just the ever-changing technology and how that can grow new opportunities. So those are, again, as we go through, those are kind of always be the underlying elements of why we are even talking about these things, because we want those elements to kind of get hit on. And then 2025 focus, we want to personalize and localize marketing strategy. So that's kind of the crucial point here. I mean, there are a lot of different marketing thoughts, but there's also a lot of different marketing thoughts for different industries. I mean, a marketing idea that, say, for an e-commerce business won't necessarily work for a local business like an auto repair shop. And so it's important to, as you're getting more and more information, to understand who that information is supposed to help. Like, yes, I mean, you can put generalized marketing strategies in a nutshell, but we want to be hyper focused on local, because the way that you're searching is definitely very different for an auto repair shop than it is when you're shopping for something and all. I mean, Christmas going on. I mean, you see when you're typing in things, there's all those product ads at the very top, and that's not an element that really involves auto repair at all, unless you are selling actual parts and things. But again, more often than not, you're not doing that. You're not getting involved in that side of things. So your strategy is much different in terms of how you want to appear locally. When that comes down to getting your shop on the map, Google Maps in particular, yes, there's different maps and different searches, especially with things like ChatGPT becoming more prevalent, and taking a haircut of the search volume. But again, at the end of the day, I did a webinar on it maybe a month or two ago about kind of search and how it's ever evolving and how AI is implementing against that. But overall, I mean, Google still has nearly 90% of the traffic volume in all of search, which we're talking about billions of searches. So Google is where you want to put most of the weight behind your strategy, because you're going to have the best bang for your buck and maximizing that ROI at the end of the day, which we all want to have. But it's also important not to ignore those other elements there. So you ignore things, that's an opportunity cost or opportunity that's just gone, and maybe other competitors take advantage of that because now there's just less competition in there. So it's important to know everything across the board, but again, you want to maximize it in the right ways. All right. And so now as we dive into SEO trends, and again, as you all have questions and things here, please pop them in the chat. And if you're watching in replay and you have questions as I'm talking about this, throw it in the comment section. I'll reply to these as fast as I possibly can. But I do want to make sure all your answers or all your questions are answered. So take advantage of that. And again, I'm happy to provide as much assistance as I possibly can. But SEO trends are going to be, again, it's ever changing. Google is always changing and adjusting things. We saw big sweeping changes throughout this year, especially when it comes to AI. But we're going to kind of talk about 4 of the sort of bread and butters that I like talking about. So user experience and SEO. So Google has increased its focus on user experience, and kind of what does that mean? It's going to be kind of the experience on the website, how long they're on your website. Are your websites mobile friendly, and things that are, I mean, they've been around for a while, but still, I mean, the trend is still there. I mean, the stickier your website is, the friendlier your overall presence is, the more likely it is that you will rank better in Google's eyes, because then you're deemed a little bit more trustworthy than your competition. Because then at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to trust of your shop in the eyes of Google. Right? And again, there's a bunch of different ways that can be developed when it comes to maybe content on the website, when it comes to keyword structure that's on there, when it comes to how many times you're even getting clicked on and how long they're staying there. So a bunch of different things, but again, it's going to be very important that your user experience digitally is very sound, and then also that experience matches when they're there at the shop as well. So that's not really a piece that's going to directly affect your SEO, but that's going to affect the customer returning over and over again, because we want to increase that lifetime value of each and every customer. The hardest thing is to get them in there the first time. It's way easier to get them to come back once they see amazing work, amazing service that you provide for them. Those are a lot more controllables that, again, you want to hone in, and you want to make sure that the experience is seamless digitally to then physically in person. All right. And then local SEO, at the end of the day, I've talked about so many times, just to kind of break up SEO and to simplify it a little bit to 3 sections: on-site SEO, off-site SEO, local SEO. On-site SEO is on the website. Off-site SEO are things where there's other websites and things that point back to you. And the local SEO is going to be more prevalently around your Google Business Profile or the Google Maps, and how your business is appearing there locally. And so, especially with auto repair shops, a brick and mortar location that then people have to physically drive to, local SEO at the end of the day is the most important element of SEO. But all 3 work together in terms of affecting one another, but we want most of the power falling to local, because that's going to capture majority of the actions taken, majority of how people find the shop and go to the shop and call the shop. So that's going to be all very important to do. We have a question in here that says, how can we improve our Google Business Profile to increase visibility? I mean, great question. There are a bunch of sweeping things that you can definitely take care of. And I mean, I've done webinars on just this topic in and of itself. So I mean, feel free to dig in and look into that a little bit more as well, if maybe my generalized answer here is not good enough. But first and foremost, I mean, there are very, very basic elements that you always want to make sure of. Business name. Business name is exactly what your business name legally is. There's a lot of people that try to kind of stuff keywords into your business name, and sometimes, yes, you can get away with it, but business name, I think, is the first or second ranking factor within your business profile. And so, yes, it's ideal when your business name has a keyword in like auto repair already there. Like, say it's Bob's Auto Repair, like that. It has now auto repair that's featured in it. It makes it a little bit easier to rank for the keyword auto repair. But if, again, you put Bob's Auto Repair, the BMW, Mercedes, Audi specialist in Austin, Texas, it's like, okay, that's not your business name. And so eventually you can get flagged by Google and you get suspended, your profile is suspended by Google, and then you're in a world of trouble because now no one can find you locally, and that's majority of how you're going to get found. So be very careful when it comes to things like that, but just make sure, again, you're doing things the right way. That's in Google's guidelines. If you follow Google's guidelines, more than likely you're going to be okay. Yes, there are situations where if you edit the profile too many times, you randomly just get flagged. You get caught in this algorithm thinking you're doing something spammy, and you get suspended, and then you have to go through the process of getting it unsuspended. So just always be very careful with how you're editing and limiting things. If you have questions, you need things to be looked at, let us know. We're happy to take a look and say, hey, this may be the best protocol to make this happen. Maybe it's not a whole list of sweeping changes at one time. You kind of spread them out. There's also ways that you can go from maybe a personal email and you just suggest an edit on your profile. So that way it's not like a business, you're not managing the business profile and editing it within there. We see that limit the effect of the risk of suspension. That seems to be working really well. So yeah, at times if you see things edited and changed, you want to make sure that it is right, because that means other people can edit and change your business profile as well. So make sure the address is correct, because there are times that people are spamming things and they'll just change the address. They'll suggest the edit, and if you're not paying attention, they'll just change and point to a different place. And again, it can be in the same state. It can be anywhere in the world where they just change it. So you want to make sure you're always just checking, making sure that looks right. And then big one is always, phone numbers used to always have to be, direct line and tied to it. Not anymore, especially now that Google isn't tracking phone numbers as consistently in calls within the Google Business profile. So highly recommend having a tracking number there as the primary line. So that way you can track how many calls you're getting from your business profile. And then in the additional phone numbers or the secondary numbers, that's where you put your direct line. So then Google will be able to, it's gotten smarter. And so you can link and see that, okay, yeah, the direct line is listed as a phone number in the Google Business profile. That way the NAP still ties when you're building out your offsite SEO. Okay. So that's again, my generalized answer, a little bit long-winded, but for local SEO and kind of the things and factors that you want to look at, always adding photos, not stock photos, custom or real photos of the shop. Just consistently add those. It always helps. Okay. And then brand search is definitely where I want. If you look at search volume and kind of the trends of where things are going, typically over 50% of searches are not really coming from a general search, like say auto repair. It's coming from the actual business name that's listed there. And people are understanding the brand and searching for that. And so my strong suggestion is building the brand. Like you want to do everything possible that people are remembering you. And again, there's a lot of ways that you can do that digitally, but there's a lot of different ways that you can also do this to just kind of keep yourself prevalent within the community. Get involved with other businesses in the community and just make sure that you're like a team together and that your business name just feels like it's everywhere. And then when that happens, that's the biggest volume of search. And when your brand name is searched more often, that also helps with local SEO, because then you're building that trust now with Google that like, oh, they can rank you high because a lot of people are searching this brand for some reason. There has to be a reason why. And so you want to start focusing on your brand imaging, and then you start seeing the search volume go up, and then you're in a very, I say a higher floor of search volumes and people calling, because now they know the name. Okay. And then content optimization. So just high quality content on your website. So just don't, again, just type it in ChatGPT or AI of some kind and then copy and paste. That's probably going to lead you down to a world of hurt. Like you want to create trustworthy, valuable content. At least edit a little bit to make it as original as you possibly can. Yes, all the topics that are on other auto repair shops are all similar. Customers aren't reading it. It's just a data warehouse for Google. That's what you want to make sure there's prevalent things on there that are deemed trustworthy, but don't help you rank better. Okay. And like I mentioned, we want to increase the focus on local SEO. I think I explained this quite a bit, a little bit earlier here, but again, local SEO is the map itself and how prevalently you're appearing in the rankings. If you're not as familiar with searches, if you type in, say, the word auto repair in the city name that you're in, you would get the local service ads, the Google ads, the map, the organic website rankings. Local map is still where a lot of people go, but there's also in that view, there's a top 3 that's shown right away. Like that's the basis that's there. And if there's a more business button, I click on more business, and then you have a whole list of everyone in the area. So if people are lazy, they're not going to click on that more business button as often, unless they're, again, searching directly through the map, like say the map app itself. But so that being that top three is very, very crucial. And there's all of these other elements of SEO that's going to be affecting that. But at the end of the day, you want to see those actions taken on your map increasing over time, especially year over year. You want to see kind of impressions increasing, calls, direction requests, websites. I mean, across the board, you want to see actions taken increasing, because more than likely that's going to have a really close correlation to your car count increasing and your revenue increasing. Because again, the majority of your volume should be coming from Google at the end of the day. So make sure that you're keeping a close eye on that statistic, because that speaks volumes. You can't really make up that number if things don't look good there. More than likely SEO isn't quite at performing in the way that it needs to, and thus you'll start seeing that your car count is going to be going in the opposite direction. So for the most part, that's the correlation. If not, if you're seeing AI numbers look really good, car count's still not going up, then there's probably a deeper dive that needs to be had there. Maybe the quality of calls aren't quite there, or the performance that's being taken when receiving the call. But yeah, those are things that very easy to look at and attain from. Okay. And then in terms of this being continued, update Google Business Profile to share all information, which I chatted about already. But I think the most difficult one for owners to consistently get done are the photos. Like, photos aren't like a humongous needle mover in the rankings, but it is a ranking factor. So like, when ideally you want to have more photos than all your competitors, and real photos of jobs in the shop, inside of the shop, the outside of the shop, the parking lot, everything. You want to have it all on there. And again, you don't want just one batch that goes in 1 month and you wait a year before you update it again. Like, no, you need this consistency with Google. The more often you're using its product, which is the Google Business Profile, the higher likelihood you are to rank better, because you're using it and you're building that trust with Google. Now, the recency bias within what's being done naturally, and so you want to make sure you're being as recent as possible. So photos is crucial. A hack that I usually tell people is like, hey, either yourself or say your service advisor, put a calendar appointment like 5 minutes long, an alert. Say it's a 10 a.m. on a Friday, or maybe later in the day where it's a little bit slower. And you just have them walk around, snap a few photos, load it into Google Drive. So your marketer takes care of it, or if you yourself are doing it, then you just uploaded it straight into your profile, and you're good to go. So that's, again, a little thing, but always probably the most difficult thing to get consistently from owners. I know it's not seen as a very high priority, but it definitely helps in the long run. All right. And then online reputation management, one of the biggest errors I've seen is people just not responding to their reviews. One, you don't do a good job of getting more of them, but even when you get more of them, you don't respond to any of them. And that is not a good look. And Google does not like that at all either. You want to respond and have that engagement within your profile. Also, things like when people there's Q&A, FAQ sections in there. You want to make sure those things are getting answered, and you're not just leaving things blank. Because again, the less likely you are to interact with your Google Business Profile, the less likely you are to rank better. So you want to make sure you're doing those things at the end of the day. Okay. So then before I jump into the ad campaigns a little bit, any questions so far? I'm looking through the chat. I haven't seen anything new appear yet. And so if there's any questions, please feel free to throw your comments in the chat. I know some new people have jumped in as we've gone along here. So I want to make sure that, again, you leverage the Q&A chat, ask any questions that you may have. I'm happy to dive deeper. Go back if we need to, just make it as simplified as possible. Again, and here in a little bit, we'll go over kind of a spreadsheet of goals and where then you should be budgeting to this kind of make these things happen. Because of course, everything has a budget, but you want to make sure you're aware of how that then correlates to your revenue. But strong ad campaigns, obviously important to have a campaign that delivers an ROI. So you want to be able to understand, though, how much you're spending and how much you're getting back. A lot of times, I mean, people aren't seeing their cost per conversions, and thus the cars that are coming in from just ads, and kind of separating that. People just label things as just strictly Google, which again, that That's fine at a very high level, but you want to understand, like, again, Google, if they're getting there organically, if they are getting there from an ad, if they're getting, like, there's a whole bunch of different ways. You want to make sure you're understanding that. So then that way you're managing your dollars the wisest way. Any other mistakes you've seen I should be cautious not to do? Is that a question that just popped up? I don't know if that's in regards to the Google Business Profile or ad campaigns. I assume it was Google Business Profile or local SEO that we were behind on there. But I think, I mean, for now, photos and reviews are the biggest things. As we get a little bit more deeper, I mean, there's like categories and service selections that you have within your profile as well, making sure the right things are selected, because a lot of times people either put incorrect service listings or categories for themselves in their business profile that hurts them. Or they don't have enough of them on there, and so they only put one word on there, and they're only favorable for one keyword when there's a whole host of categories that you can select yourself as. So that way you're ranking for kind of a bunch of different elements, not just one thing. So that'd be another thing, but again, that's getting a little bit more into the weeds of the Google Business Profile itself. Okay. So as we keep going along here. So key insights within ad campaigns, again, there's different platforms to use. You can do Google, and there's the local service ads, like Google, which I'll dive into deeper here in a little bit. There's the regular Google AdWords. Now, I mean, we have to clearly separate them. Before, I used to just call them Google Ads because there was only one option. But now there's Google Local Service Ads, Google AdWords, two separate different things. They appear differently in Google search, but again, and two different platforms that then can tie and coincide into one. But then also you can run your Facebook ads, Instagram ads, again, across the board. Make sure you're understanding the platforms and how to read them. All right. And then at the end of the day, you want to create offers. If you are creating offers that resonate, you need to create an incentivization, a want to even click on an ad and make it appealing for them. Because again, at the end of the day, they're costing a little bit more to get their eyeballs a little bit closer to your business. You do not want those eyeballs to leave, because if there's like, oh, this is just sharing a little bit about them, I don't really care about that, I want a deal, and they leave and they look for something else. So you typically in ads, I would strongly suggest creating an appealing discount or appealing promotion of some kind that really helps people want to make that call when they click on the ad. Because again, a lot of different buyer intent behind when someone clicks on an ad, because they're usually in a hurry. They don't have time to dig around and do more research. So appeal to them right away. Another question: how do you determine the right budget for a successful ad campaign? That's a great question in terms of what ad budget you want to do, and it's going to really depend upon your goals in which that you're trying to achieve for the business. So, for example, you're like, hey, our car count is, say, 100 cars a month. Like, I'm throwing a number out there just to make it round and easy, and I'm like, I want to get it to 150 cars a month. So now we're looking at, or I do 140 cars a month. So like, say 4 weeks in a month, you need to add 10 cars a week, 2 cars a day, or business days in that sense. And so now you'd be looking at an ad budget of like, okay, am I making that up only with ads? Am I making that up with also just better performing SEO? What does that look like? And so you want to create a blend of like what that should look like. Obviously, in the very beginning, typically the ad campaign should start a little bit higher because SEO is not an overnight thing. So you'd have to typically have a higher budget to make up for that lack of gain that's probably going to happen in SEO, or even in slower months. That's where you're like, I know it's going to dip down. Less people are buying. I probably need to increase my budget here to maybe get close enough to the car count that I want to hit in this given month. So there needs to be fluctuation, planning ahead of time when those things happen. And so again, if in a world where you're like, hey, I want to increase again by 40 cars, and I'm seeing that it cost me about $100 to get a car in from Google Ads. If you only wanted it from Google Ads, that'd be $4,000 a month that you'd be looking at. Oh, I need to get for. But again, those are just ballpark numbers to throw out there to make things a little bit rounder and for this explanation. So hopefully that helps in terms of budget. Okay, but again, you definitely want to track every dollar that you're spending, where it's going. You don't want to just spend, throw money at something and hope it sticks. Hope is not a marketing strategy at all. So have a plan, execute, and if the plan's not working, adapt and then create a new plan. So again, step by step to create these. Again, first and foremost, I always like when it comes to like someone asked about the budget, you want to define a goal of what you're even trying to achieve. Because again, it's really hard to be like, hey, this is what the budget should be without understanding what someone wants to achieve at all. Typically what I mean, if someone has no idea even what they want to grow by, I'm like, hey, well, at least for our campaign to even be somewhat effective, you should probably start with at least $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Like that should be kind of a baseline. Like right now, on average, people are close to about $2,000 a month in campaigns that we manage for hundreds of Google ad campaigns. And so that's just again a ballpark to give you an idea of what people are spending. But typically I tell people, hey, yeah, if you don't also have much budget to work with, I would at least plan on that 1,000, because if it's lower than that, the odds of an ad campaign working well at all are not going to be very likely. But again, this is when I'm talking about AdWords. As we get into local service ads, it's going to be a different ballgame, different, and we're seeing a lot of different data and results that come from it. Could be a really good value opportunity here. But you also want to know target audience, the type of services that you want to even go after. If you only want to go after a specific type of service, type of vehicles you want to go after, your bidding strategy, so on and so forth. Again, ads gets really sticky. So in my opinion, I would strongly suggest not running them yourselves, because again, there's a lot of recommendations and things like Google pops up and you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna click on it. Again, you don't want to click on any of the recommendations. Google will just use your budget and waste your budget, and your ROI will not be very good at all. So that's where I would typically suggest working with someone at least to give you an idea of how it should be run. But ideally, I mean, it's a regular thing that you need to be updating within an ad campaign to make sure you're spending right. So highly recommend just having a professional. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased since we are a professional here, but I've seen so many mistakes, so many wasted dollars that happen when people try to do it themselves. And I take a peek at their campaign, like, oof, you should just probably turn this off, because this is not bringing you anything other than more money coming out the wrong way. So you, again, be careful with that. If you do dive deeper, do your research before you go through and doing anything. Okay. And then next, I want to chat about video content. And so video is definitely a very valuable form of content that people love to have and love to see. I mean, you can only scroll through pictures so many times before you're like, this does nothing for me. But when someone is engaging back with you in a video, you almost feel like you're having a conversation without having a conversation. So it's very important to be able to start building these things. And again, like I mentioned before, creating photos was already difficult enough for an owner. So now asking them to create video is like another step beyond. I'm like, this is not easy to be able to pull off and do, and completely understand that. But again, it depends on are these the goals and things that you want to create for yourself? Video is a really, really good way to start building a stronger brand than all your competitors. There's a reason why it's harder. There's a reason why less people do it. So if you're the one that does it, more than likely you're going to stand out more than your competition in your area. And now you have a dynamic video that I'm not saying that it just has to be ones in the shop either. Like, oh, I'm the owner and this is the shop. And yes, it's great to have a tutorial video, things like that, or walking through services, but also having customers do their testimonials is a humongous win that you can share. I mean, it's one thing to read a Google review, and that's where people read a lot of them, but being able to share like a video of a real person that went to the shop and that people probably recognize within the community. At least a handful of people know people. And so as you get more of these, again, it's going to start to feel like a lot of people go to the shop and other people should go too. So you want to start building this over time. And I mean, the time is now. I would highly recommend starting now. And then again, if you're like, well, I don't know how to edit anything, I mean, there's always people that can help do that. We help do that. So it's, again, the hardest part is getting the video, but once you get it, there's a lot of things that you can dynamically do with it to help build your brand. Helps with a lot of different things, marketing wise. Okay. And so top 10 most influential video content ideas, we just threw those on there. Feel free to screenshot this or take a picture if that works for you. But obviously number 1 is going to be customer testimonials. Number 2, day in the life behind the scenes tour. And again, this doesn't even have to be the owner. This can be maybe the tech for the day or the advisor walking through the day. Again, especially in times where maybe it's a little bit slower, those are times where you can start creating content because you can always be doing something, and creating content is a very beneficial thing that then helps in the long run. We got before and after repairs. People love that kind of thing. Maintenance tips, service explanations, seasonal car care advice, unique service, meet the team, so on and so forth, right? So those are going to be big things that you can do to just start creating video. And again, your phone works amazing. Make sure to video it this way. Typically, this way is not viewed as often on people's phones. People don't really scroll through this way anymore. So if you're on the computer, yes, that can work okay. But ideally, I would highly recommend always filming vertical. And you can do a lot more dynamic ads and things when it's that way. Okay. So now again, ideas for boosting car count. Focus on retention. That's always a really big thing. It's really hard to just get new customers to make for ones that are lost. So loyal customers spend 67% more. And so those people, when they're there, treat it as gold and make sure you're doing everything you can to just go above and beyond service wise. And then naturally those people come back. They type in your business name because now your business name is sticky in their minds. Make sure that again they have the things that they need to make sure that they remember you always. So like a unique oil change coupon or a sticker that goes in the car, or maybe you give them a little thank you card for coming in that has branding name on it, or you hang an air refreshener that has your brand on it and that stays in their car. Again, things to just constantly remember your brand always will help at the end of the day. You don't want them typing in auto repair again. You want them typing in your shop name when they end up searching again because they didn't remember your number. And that's again, you will win that customer every single time that way. So you want to make sure you're doing those things. Email campaigns for reminders doesn't hurt on top of doing texting. Texting is always going to work better, but implementing emails again is just another medium that doesn't hurt to be able to send out. Loyalty programs is another great way to keep people coming back. And again, there's some amazing vendors out there that are doing great things with this. Make sure to do seasonal promotions, things that tie to the time of year. Make sure you're aware. You're not running a random repair in a time of year where that's not even needed. You want to make sure that you're again attuned to what's going on in the community, attuned with what people are even caring about. And so again, that rolls into community engagement and getting involved with the community, getting involved with other businesses, and just again, it all comes back to the why is building your brand, and when that happens, people just will flock and come. So. Those are big things that you want to make sure you're taking care of. And then in terms of boosting car count through authenticity, again, we've hit on this a few times, so I'm not going to keep regurgitating the same thing over and over. So, I mean, you get the point. It's important. You want to be real, and the more real you are, the better your brand will be. So now I want to jump into local service ads. And so real quick, just yes or no in the chat. Do you know what local service ads are? So it's fairly new to the auto repair industry. So just throw yes or no. All right, so we got a few yeses. We got a bunch of no's. Which again, I figured as much because it's a newer thing. If you already use local service ads, say, and you're watching on the replay, throw that in the comments. I'd love to see how many different auto repair shop owners are already leveraging it. But again, it's not very many because again, we have a few clients that we manage that are on it, and they're the only ones in their entire town that are on it. And it's a very valuable piece that is on there. I wish I threw a screenshot on here, but again, if you say you looked for a dentist or a lawyer in your town before, there's like kind of a Google guaranteed or Google preferred, depends on the industry, they call it different things. But it's like a green check mark that's next to a business, kind of a little tile that kind of scrolls across the top of the screen. And when they click on that, it goes straight to the Google Business Profile. So that's why having a healthy Google Business Profile with lots of reviews, things helps make it even stronger. But those leads are proven to be, the cost per conversion has been a lot more affordable than Google AdWords. And then we've seen very strong. So typically I always say, hey, general auto repair is going to be around 40 to 60 cost per conversion. If you're getting into euros, it's probably going to be like 80 to 100. At times it's going to be more expensive. But with local service ads, we're seeing some under $20 cost per conversion, which is really, really good. Amazing. I mean, as more people get on it, obviously that I expect that to increase. But again, right now, not as many people are leveraging it. And so it's a great time to jump in, get listed. I mean, yes, there's more hoops that you can do to get that Google check mark on there. But again, great value opportunity that is happening right now. And if you're like, hey, maybe you take some of your Google AdWords budget if you're not able to afford having another budget in a sense for local service ads, and just put some there just to see for yourself. But they're working very well. Now, the struggle part is that this is mainly for a general auto repair shop, because again, you're kind of a basic list of words is there for Google to pick from. It's not as specific as Google AdWords are. So for euros, again, we're doing a lot of testing on this just to, again, be able to clearly define for those. But right now for euros, it looks like, again, there's just too many general words being attached to a euro shop to quite be worth the bang. But again, we're consistently learning through Google's model what they're doing there, and I'm sure they'll be able to start figuring out that, hey, yeah, there's these niche type of auto repair shops that need specific things a little bit different, and they'll start learning. So again, we're playing that barrier as soon as things change. I mean, we're constantly, this is a big process that we are locked and loaded on our end in terms of when people are saying they want to turn this on. We have the full process, like, yep, let's get this on, get this rolling for you as fast as possible. So that way you can be one of the only ones in your area that have this up and getting that managed for you regularly, because there is some management involved, because you don't want to just be a set and forget it thing. Any set and forget it thing is typically too good to be true. And so you want to make sure that there's work behind it. There is work in terms of managing it, but we're seeing really strong results. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. And if you have questions on that, please feel free to ask me, or you can set up a meeting with us after this and be like, hey, yeah, going into the new year, I want this on. And so there definitely is documentation and thing that you need, and it's different for every state. But again, I'd say this is a huge winner that's going to be happening in this coming year. If you're not taking advantage of it and you have a competitor doing it, they're probably going to get lots of wins that's happening. So again, strongly recommend looking into this more for those that don't know, and if those that do know, and you do know of it, but you don't have it on, get it on, because again, I think this is going to be a big way to get wins. And I potentially foresee a majority of Google ad budget going towards local service ads in comparison to Google AdWords. Yes, it doesn't hurt to have both, because they both take a piece of like kind of the viewer as you scroll in Google, but local service ads is at the very top as well. And it links straight to your business profile, shows the reviews, everything like that. So I think it's going to be very, very beneficial. Okay. Can't say it enough. And now as we switch gears to kind of our last topic before we go into the goals and the Excel spreadsheet, it's going to be AI powered marketing, kind of how AI is being involved with marketing, but in particular search is what I wanted to talk about. So I don't know how many of you have seen, but if you type in sort of a question-based response into Google, what we call an informational search, you get that AI overview section in Google. Kind of a big section is AI overview, and then as you scroll past, then eventually you see the organic search that's there, the different websites with different articles and things like that. But a really, really big chunk is being eaten up by that AI overview. And so then they have hyperlinks to different articles and things as well. Typically, those articles that are there are some of the higher ranking organic searches that are there as well. So you're kind of getting twofold of what's happening. But you want to make sure that, again, you're creating content on the website to be able to answer some of these informational based prompts, but also majority of the search volume for a shop doesn't come that way. It just looking for the brick and mortar business. It's a local SEO. So there isn't really that AI overview that's taking over it. So again, the way that we're doing SEO isn't changing too much in terms of how it's being affected in AI. ChatGPT released ChatGPT search, which now, like, so for example, if you typed in auto repair city name that you live in, it comes up with a little map, and then there's like it's like, instead of a list, like a top 3, it's like a scroll bar that like fields and populates different locations. But that top three is pretty consistent with what the top three is on average for Google, for what I've played with and tested in different locations. If you're ranking well in Google, more than likely you're going to be ranking well there, because that's pulling from Bing, and majority of the time Bing is lining up pretty closely to the Google rankings as well. Yes, there are differences, absolutely, and if your listing isn't optimized in Bing, then obviously you're not going to rank very well there. But if you're optimizing across the board, and things will correlate pretty closely to each other. So that's going to be the big thing there when it comes to AI and how it's affecting search. Obviously, there's different automation tools and ways that you can leverage it within, say, CRM, within chatbots and things that you can throw on the website. All very beneficial because things can be answered at all hours of the day. It doesn't matter whether the business is open or not. So that's what's nice about making sure that you're leveraging these types of things the right way. All right, and so let's go straight to this planning sheet. So if you want to open this, I mean, you should be able to scan this QR code. It should go straight to it, but I'm going to open here this Google Doc. And so when you go to this Google Doc, it should be view only. So, but if it's not for some reason, do file, make a copy. So that way you have your own file on your desktop, and then click on make a copy, and then you should be able to edit it from there. But what this planner does, and if you haven't been on this, I mean, if you've been in a planning session with me before, I do this at the end of every year, slightly different, obviously, because there's different highlights for the year. But the spreadsheet has kind of stayed true in terms of like the valuableness of what you want to do. So ideally, you have a revenue goal target of what you want it to be. So in this case, hey, next year I want the shop to be performing 1.2. So then there's equations here that are baked in automatically to help you understand like what that ends up needing to be. It automatically will calculate the monthly revenue target, and then here you would put in, hey, average repair order. It can be either a goal average repair order. I would recommend doing it what it is now, and then you can have that, I guess, that bandwidth to improve upon. But you put whatever your average repair order is now, it spits out how many cars you need to have each month on average to hit that monthly goal of $100,000 or whatever, again, your goal is. It just spits out automatically. And the number of leads required to hit the target. So again, this average conversion rate per caller, that's kind of a gut of how you feel your service. Say, for example, you're like, I have a very strong service advisor. And when someone is calling, that is a like that's a lead, they're closing 90% of them. Or maybe they're like, you know what, this person has a room for improvement, they close 50% of them. And that obviously will adjust the number of leads or calls, form fill outs, appointment bookings, things like that across the board that you'll need. And again, gives you an idea of like what then that budget will be required to get that. So then down here, I just have like an average cost to generate. You can adjust this, but $25 is good enough for now. Budget required to hit target of like, say, the difference of what you're wanting potentially can be there, and it just gives you a ballpark idea of what things should look like. But if you go to budget allocations, a lot of these things pull over automatically. In here, I have a little comment of like rule of thumb of like, hey, what percentage of marketing budget do I need to do? And again, the percentage of your marketing budget should be of where you want to be, not where you currently are. Because again, you want to get somewhere, that's where the percentage should go in terms of what you're budgeting. And then it'll spit out an annualized budget for you, then a monthly budget of what that should look like. And then here, you're like, hey, you know what? I want to allocate it to this much online, this much offline, and then things just start populating across the board automatically for you in terms of how things should put. And this will be 2025. But yeah, then you can even break it down by SEO, pay-per-click, display retargeting, if you want to split it that way. So all different kinds of formulas and things to play with here. But hopefully it is helpful for you to understand, again, what you truly need to be budgeting marketing wise to hit the goals that you want. If you think, you know what, yeah, our rule of thumb is, I know there's a good rule of thumb out there in terms of like, yeah, rent and marketing should be, say, 13% of revenue. And you're like, yeah, you know, our rent is 9% of revenue. So it's like, okay, then maybe we need this to only be 4% to make it work. But can this budget go that far to hit the goal that you want? Maybe tough, because again, this is where typically we see like conservative budgets on the lower end is like about 3%, and they're just looking for just kind of a steady growth or maybe status quo of what's happening there. Okay. So that. And then the marketing calendar here just throws in different ideas of like, hey, different times of year, different specials that you can throw on there for the time of year, different even names to give them. So again, these are just general ideas to just give you a head start in terms of thinking about the year, what type of specials you want to have. Obviously, you can edit this to be whatever you want, but having a plan is better than not having a plan. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. So let me go back now though to the presentation. And so here now again, this is we've done a few blogs and things on our website. So these QR codes will go straight to these blogs. If you're like, hey, I can't wait for this replay, and I need to remember some of the things that we talked about, feel free to visit our site. There'll be blogs and articles that talk about these different things and in different ways that hopefully help you along this path. But yeah, that is kind of the planning session for today. So any other questions, thoughts, concerns, things I didn't cover, things that you want me to dig back into? Oh, sorry about that. Someone said, can I share the link? Is it the link to the articles, or are we talking about the link to the spreadsheet, Craig? So I guess I'll pause on both. We'll be on the screen spreadsheet. So yeah, it'll be this QR code, or you can type in this link into your computer. Either one will go straight there. Okay. And then these were QR codes to the blogs on our website. I'm going back. I'll let it sit here for a second. But another question: how do you make progress on the map pack? Great question. And so that's going to be the local SEO elements that we chatted about. There are obviously a lot of different things that affect local SEO, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about building that trust within your profile. So like I mentioned before, you want to make sure your business name is your actual business name. It's not something else. You're not adding in magical keywords at the end to just try to get a boost for yourself. Again, you're risking suspension with your listing, and I would not ever risk suspension with listing because majority again of calls come there. And if you're doing local service ads, you need that up as well. So that would suspend your local service ads twofold. So I would don't mess around when it comes to that. Make sure the address is always right. Phone numbers, it can be a tracking number. I want to make it known there. I know some people are strongly against it, which again, if you're not comfortable with that, that is okay. But I would strongly suggest, tracking where leads are coming from, so that way you know where to put budget dollars. That should be very important to know where things go. Other elements is going to be making sure that you have the right categories and service listings within your business profile. Make sure that you are responding to reviews. Like, don't just leave them blank. Don't just say a thank you. Like, give a response, throw in some keywords in there. That all helps, because again, reviews are indexed as well by Google. Make sure that if there's an FAQ section that you're answering questions. So and also making posts within your GBP as well. So those are all things that will help appear in the map pack as consistently as possible. So hopefully that helps answer your question there, Brian. Okay, Craig, hopefully that was long enough. Hopefully you got to the spreadsheet. Hopefully it worked for everyone on here if you went to it. But we'll keep chugging along. Perfect, it worked. So great to hear that. Any other questions, thoughts? No, again, and if there's a question that you didn't want to answer or do you want to ask in here, you can shoot me a message on Facebook. You can leave a comment on the YouTube replay. We have a Facebook group that you can join, which I'll show here in a second. Throw a question out in there. It's a lot of great ways to reach me. You can also reach our company. You can give us a call, email, book a strategy session with us. So if you found this valuable, or if you're like, hey, you know what? For example, I want local service ads. I want to make sure that I'm prepared for that. And maybe if you can do an analysis of how I'm ranking for me as well. Perfect. Like the book a session with us. You can do the website. You can do that on the QR code here. Lots of different ways throughout this webinar. And yeah, same thing if you're watching the replay, same elements that I'm happy to answer and evaluate what you have. And put you in the best position for this coming year to help you hit your goals. And again, if we analyze it and we let you know that, hey, yeah, your current company is crushing it for you, like tell them to keep that momentum going. We'll let you know that too. So again, we want to be fully transparent with what things look like, what things need to improve, what things are really good, and then kind of work from there. Okay. We have a free marketing checklist. We have revamped it a little bit. So there are some updates that we have recently made in there to our latest internet marketing checklist. So feel free to check that out on our website, but also if you go directly to go.liftautorepairmarketing.com/marketing checklist. I know a lot of characters, a lot of words there. I apologize, but hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to download that no problem when you go through it. Okay. Then we have our Facebook group. If you haven't already joined, just type in Auto Repair Shop Owners Mastermind in Facebook, and you will see the group that we have. Or you can go to this URL and join the group. Free to join, free to stay in, where we share kind of latest updates as well with marketing. If we haven't already shared it in a webinar, or we share our replays on their podcasts on there. But also there's also owners that ask questions or share wins and things across the board. So it could be a great place to go into if you don't already have a kind of a group of like-minded individuals that you're a part of. And also doesn't hurt to have more. So great place to jump in and be. We also have a book. So the book is sitting right here. So you can buy it on Amazon, Drive More Business. It's pretty much breaks down a lot of our webinars into a book format. If you learn a little bit better from a book, it's kind of a step-by-step guide that we made there. Okay. And so that is the marketing plan for 2025. That wraps up my webinars for the year. There still will be kind of podcasts rolling out throughout the year. I do need to line up a lot more guests for next year. I got a lot of guests in. We crossed the 50 episode threshold on our podcast, which is super exciting. I did not think I would ever make that many podcast interviews, but we've got some good feedback, and so hopefully you guys like it. If you know someone or you yourself are interested in being interviewed and chatting with me, let me know. I would love to have a conversation. Doesn't matter where you are in your journey of being an owner, you have a story to tell, and I'd love to hear it and kind of chat and help others learn from your story, regardless of how much success you believe you have or not. So yeah, but that wraps us up for today. Those are all the questions I think that I see. But again, feel free to reach out to me, message me on Facebook, call our line. There's so many different ways to reach me. But again, I appreciate you all being here. For those that have stuck their way through the entire replay, thank you so much. Feel free to please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. But I'm Kelsey, Lift Auto Repair Marketing. We'll talk to you guys later.